Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. And we made a promise a few weeks ago that we would help Leslie Lyons get some of the word out, and they are having a hiring fair. And of course, I want to explain and introduce my guest to you tonight. If we could get a shot of them, Miss Leslie Lyons, there you see her closest to me, the LCSW DCFS Regional Administrator. And Ms. Karen Washington is here today. There you go. Big smile from Karen, DCFS Area Director. Welcome. How are y'all today?
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us. We're doing good.
Anytime. All right. Let's start, Leslie. You've been on a few times, so no stranger now, but a hiring fair, because as we all know, everybody's trying to hire and get people in place. So let's start off with that, and then we'll learn what Karen does and what her role is, but you have the floor.
Okay, thank
Right.
you, Martin.
You're
Well, as you notice, we're not calling it a job fair.
Right.
It is a hiring fair.
Okay.
We want people to show up. It's Friday at the Civic Center in Homa, and we want them to show up ready to be interviewed, drug screened, fingerprinted possibly, all of the things that we normally do, which takes a couple of weeks. We're doing it in one day. So they will come to the hiring fair. I'll give some more details, but we want them to show up ready in professional attire to be interviewed with names of references, ready to be drug screened, fingerprinted, you name it.
So y'all gonna expedite the process?
Yes, because we are in desperate need of employees all across the state. We're having these fairs all over.
How long do you think if a person is interested, we'll talk a little bit more about what they're gonna be applying for, I guess, so to speak. How long do you think the process would take when they get to the Civic Center?
Well, when it depends on how many people show up.
Good point.
So we hope that we have a big crowd, but we have had several hiring fairs now, so we've got it down to a work of art basically. I would think that they may be there for an hour to 2 hours because the interview is going to take some time. If if they've already applied online to the link, then that expedites
Okay.
things. So if they've applied, then they're going to pull up their application, look, tell them what they're qualified to interview for. They will decide what they want to interview, which job they want to interview for, and then we'll set them up. If they are interviewing with DCFS for a child welfare job as a worker, a specialist, then they'll have a writing exercise, and then they will go to a Zoom interview and be interviewed over Zoom by an interview team.
Well, let's bring up the brochure if we can, Jen, because trust me, I'm a little behind on technology because all these kids run circles around me, but they can just put their phone on this thing and they can apply right here?
That's correct. They sure can.
Well, I'm learning quick.
Well, and
I've tried that a couple of times. It was a disaster. I'm just slow on that stuff, you know?
it's going to open
But it
up.
looks pretty easy. So they can go to this on the website and they can fill out everything they need to fill out prior, correct?
That's correct. And what we encourage people to do is they're going to be on that civil service website, and they need to be very careful to include all of their work experience on that application.
And to be honest,
And to be honest,
Yeah.
But it's very important that you give detailed information about your work experience because we do find that they might come in and qualify for a higher pay level based on the amount of experience they have
Right.
and the
Okay.
type.
Right. Good deal. All right. I want to bring in Karen Washington. She came in here talking about the Saints, and she was on with Bobby Hebert and Mike Detillier. And Karen, you said you're from Marrero?
I am from Marrero, Louisiana, born and raised. That's
All right.
correct.
And so, as the area director, I know you told me prior to the show, but tell the audience what areas that you are in charge of.
Okay, so I am the area director for the Thibodeau region, and that includes the parishes of Ascension, Assumption, St. John, St. James, and St. Charles, Terrebonne, and Lafourche parishes.
All right. And as Leslie mentioned, you are looking for people, and this is not just isolated to you all, it's tough finding people in it.
It is. It really is difficult. And so they putting on this hiring fair all around the state, and we're getting some good prospects, and people are able to get hired very quickly. And so they're taking it area by area, these regions. And so the one for Thibodeau region is this Friday, and we're excited about what's going to happen.
So you have sort of had to try different ways to get people enthusiastic, and you got to think out the box, right, Leslie?
That's right. We certainly have to think outside the box. And it's not an easy job. So
Right.
you read the job descriptions when they go online and see what each job entails.
And,
Yes.
and Karen, what are you looking for? We have about a minute. We're going to come back and talk in the next segment, but let's start it. What are you looking for? Enthusiasm or
Oh, yes.
stickler for details?
Passion for service, someone who's an excellent communicator, a team player who can work with like law enforcement and advocates and different agencies that we partnership with. You have to have stamina, yeah, and the willingness to serve people, to serve your community.
So this is a Department of Children and Family Services job fair, and for our Child Welfare Division, we have two positions that we're looking for candidates for. One is our Child Welfare Specialist, and that is anything from doing child protection investigative work, those initial calls that come off the hotline when a child is suspected of being abused or neglected, going out, knocking on doors, working with law enforcement, the courts, etc. Family services. Those are cases where we have children who have been abused or neglected but remain in their home with their families, and we service those families and oversee them. And then foster care, which is when a child can't be maintained safely in their home, they come into foster care. And so these would be case managers for those children. We have home development, they certify our foster homes. We have adoptions, they work on the adoptions. We are a broad agency. We do a lot of things, all with the focus of safety of children. So it requires work with the courts, law enforcement, CASA, community partners, hospitals, doctors, you name it. It's like learning to do a little bit of everything. The other position that we have that we're hiring for is a child welfare services assistant. Our children have lots of appointments. We have visits, all kinds of stuff. So we're looking for responsible people who love children, who are interested and have a good driving record and can drive children to appointments and help us out around the office. And just like today, we had several children who came into foster care, and they're in the office and everybody's helping out.
Karen, let me ask you. It seems like y'all looking for very compassionate people, but we got to put a little caveat next to it. It's not for the faint of heart. Some of this takes tough, gritty people who can handle a lot of stress, because some of these things that you all go through is pretty tough.
It is pretty tough, but we do have a training unit where we teach people skills and how to problem solve and how to deal with those things. There's ongoing supervision from a frontline supervisor who's always walking with you through processes, through decisions and things that have to happen. We also do a lot of shadowing with the most experienced workers to get you prepared. And so even if you haven't done it before, we can bring you up to par.
So I guess the gratification of going apply and doing this type of job is, in the end, you could see your results manifest themselves.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 26 years, and it's very rewarding. It's rewarding to be able to reunite families. It's rewarding to see a child get a permanent home and a family. It pays off in the end. It does. It's worth every bit of hard work of making sure that children are safe.
Let me use you as an example. How'd you get started doing that?
I started because I was doing private case management, and actually the business closed, and I went and applied, and not thinking that I could do it. I didn't think I had the stamina. I thought it would break my heart every time, but it turns out that's just the kind of people we need, because I did have compassion, and I was able to solve problems, and I did have the stamina because there's meaning in it at the end. And so I've been here all this time.
Got to make a light moment, Leslie. Y'all keep talking about stamina. Are y'all gonna make them run around the Civic Center?
It feels like that
It
sometimes.
feels like that sometimes. I think we both worked throughout the weekend. And it's kind of like sometimes we feel like we don't have a break or time off. It is a 24-hour a day job. And so, but a very important one. Very, very important.
Yeah, the future sort of rides on this, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It's incredible knowing that you're sort of steering children in the right direction, but not only steering them, you got to make sure they stay there, right?
Right. And our adults' families. I mean, we're reaching out a hand and trying to help our families. And I want to get in this one important thing. We have increased our pay. I'm not going to get into what the pay is, but we have had a lot of help increasing pay to help recruit and get staff. So if you used to work for us and you loved it, but you weren't making enough money, come back and see us.
Try again, right?
Try again.
Okay, well, good. That's good to know. Let's bring up the graphic again, Jen, if we can. So Leslie, real quick again, let's remind people about all the details.
So Homa Civic Center, Friday from 10 to 2. I suggest people come early, bring a photo ID and possibly 2 references. And you could also bring Social Security card, be professional, be prepared for an interview and a drug screen. Also, you can go on the Louisiana Civil Service website on the computer, or if you're not so literate with making these applications, we will have a bus there where you can get on the bus and they will help you. It may not be a bus this time. They will help you complete the application process there.
So no reason to make excuses why you can't go. There will be help getting them through it, right, Karen?
Through the entire process. We have a whole team of people that we got working that is going to be there to direct you through every part of the process.
And
Clean
y'all
and
said
simple.
stamina, so y'all will lead them in calisthenics to start off, right? All right, Leslie and Karen, once again, thank y'all so much for what you do, not only for the communities, for the children, for the family, and we appreciate it. And if you are out there watching and you want a job and you think you could fit the bill, the Civic Center on November 18th, make it happen. We'll be back right around the corner with more right here on HTV.